Alright everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going over the Beast Gohan deck that is coming out in set 22. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as always. Thank you guys for the support. And we're going to go right in here into the leader, which is Sun Gohan that turns into Beast Gohan, Super Saiyan or Superhero Sun Gohan if you want to call him that. He is a draw 1 and you awaken at 4 life or less, or if your opponent has a red pan superhero card in play, which we'll get to that, how that actually works. You draw 2 and you strike life down to 6. Again, another leader that does not untap energy when it awakens, which is very, very odd to me, but it is what it is. We're going to keep moving here. So we have the Sun Gohan Unfiltering Power. So he's not yet Beast Gohan, but he will turn into that. Auto, when your red Sun Gohan or Piccolo superhero card attacks, draw 1. So this could be your leader, it could be a battle card, whatever. At the end of your turn, choose it to one of your red Piccolo superhero cards and switch it to active mode. This at first, I think myself, I probably thought about it as soon as it came out. It's like, oh cool, you can untap a Piccolo in your energy. Unfortunately, they don't actually have the traits when they're in their energy, only when they're in play, so unless specified differently, so you can't untap energy, so that's a little unfortunate. Auto, when your Piccolo Power Beyond Awakening activates a blocker skill or is removed from the battle area by an opponent's skill at the end of the turn, add cards from your life to your hand until you have 4 life left. Then play 1 red Sun Gohan superhero leader from your Z deck on top of this card, which allows you to go into your Z leader, which we'll go to later on in the video. Now, you have a very quick way of actually going to your Z leader. You can probably do it turn 3, turn 4, if not, maybe, I think it's turn 3 is the earliest, potentially turn 4, or I'm sorry, potentially turn 2, which is very nice. You have the ability of just going into it very, very quickly, which is kind of what this deck wants to do. A lot of this deck's power kind of revolves around the Z leader. I would say this deck is very similar to Green Gohan in that sense. Not saying that this deck is better than Green Gohan. Let's not go that far. But the fact that you are able to go into your Z leader so quickly is very good. That makes this, like, your entire deck is, your entire leader and most of your archetype base is going into your Z leader so you can get kind of transform. And it's just ironic that it is another Gohan deck, right? Being able to restand a blocker is cool every turn, and your awakened turn you can technically draw 4. So you are able to swing on your unawakened side to draw a card. If you have the pan in your opponent's battle area, you can then awaken, draw 2 cards, and then you can swing with a Gohan or a Piccolo card to draw another card, which is probably the best way of doing things. That way you're getting the draw 4, you're getting the most out of your awakened turn for drawing. Now, this deck actually comes with 2 Z extra cards. So the first one is if your leader is this leader, you have 2 or more energy when this card is placed in the battle area. To play up to 1 Super Saiyan Sun Gohan All-Out Explosion from your deck, and then play up to 1 red pan from within a cost of 1 from your deck to your opponent's battle area, then shuffle. Then place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck and remove this card from the game. When your Piccolo Bestowed Power is played, add up to 1 Piccolo Power Beyond Awakening from your deck to your hand and shuffle your deck, which will go through those cards obviously as well. So this is actually what allows you to awaken. Is you're going to combo a card away, play this extra card. The extra card's then going to play Gohan and pan from your deck, so you don't technically need those cards even in your hand to mulligan for. And then since the pan will be on board, you can then swing with your leader, awaken, you're drawing 3 cards, do whatever, and then swing at the Gohan you put on board to then draw an extra card. Alright, so the 2 pans you have Glimpse of Strength and Determined Young Girl. Both are essentially a 1-drop draw 1 and a 1-drop cantrip. A 1-drop search top 5 and a 1-drop cantrip. They're both technically cantrips. But one just allows you to search the top 5 for any superhero card that costs 5 or less, while the other pan just draws you a card. Both these cards can only attack and be used in a combo if your leader is a red Sun Gohan superhero, which would make mirror matches very funny. So that's kind of cool. Then we have the Piccolos here. So we have Piccolo with the new student. It's a blocker, and you can use 1 Earthling or Saiyan mono red with 5k combo from the drop area when this card attacks. And you can play it if your opponent has a pan card in play. This card actually kind of sucks, I'll be honest with you. It does not allow you to go into Power Beyond Awakening, which is the main Piccolo card you want to be running. To go into that card, you need to play Piccolo Bestowed Power. If you have three or more energy and your opponent has a red pan superhero card in play, you can play this card from your hand, and it negs a battle card by 20k, which is very powerful actually. It's a 15k blocker, not very good stats, but being able to remove something else that's slightly bigger than it, I would say is a little bit of an advantage. And then when you play this card, you actually can pop the field spell we just went over, which will then allow you to grab the 5-drop from your deck. The 5-drop costs 1 to X-Evolve, but it can only X-Evolve over a 4 cost, which is really stupid. They should have just made it the 3 and the 4. It would just give you a reason to run the 3 cost, essentially. This card's played, you draw 1, you switch it to active mode, and then this card gains 5k for the turn, so making it a 25k. Active man, if you have a Sun Gohan Beast Roar in play, and you switch this card to rest mode, your opponent can't activate blocker skills for the turn, which is very good, actually. We'll go into that Beast Roar card a little bit later. It's definitely the boss monster for the deck. It's a very cool card. But this Power Beyond Awakening allows you to go into your Z Leader. Now, before we go into that, we will go over some of the other cards in the deck, which are going to be the Gohan archetype cards. So the All Out Explosion is the card that plays off of the first field spell that we showed off, or this is the extra card. It's a 15k deflect unique barrier. When this card's played, you KO one of your opponent's battle cards 15k or less. Or you can play this card from your hand if your opponent has a red pan in play. So this is the one you play off of the field spell. Then you have Sun Gohan Ultimate Power of Legend. You can evolve on top of this 3-drop for 1 red. Opponent has 2 more energy. When this card is played, draw 1, switch it to active mode, and you get to play a Piccolo bestowed power from your deck with its skills negated for the turn, then shuffle your deck. So, the point of this is that you can go into the Gohan on turn 2, which then will allow you to set up your play for your Piccolo. We went forward a little bit there, unfortunately, with your Piccolo here. So you can go, the concept is you go on turn 2, you can go into, or sorry, you probably do it turn 3 because the Gohan's going to have barrier. It's more likely going to survive. You evolve on top of this guy with this Gohan, draw, and you'll play the Piccolo from your deck. When the Piccolo will come into play, he will not neg something, but then you can tap 1 red to play that Piccolo on top of him, which will draw you a card. Now you have your Piccolo set up for your next turn, which then if he blocks or does whatever, you're going to be able to go into your Z Leader. Right, that's kind of the concept of the deck. Then we have 2 other cards that are kind of unique. One is Super Saiyan Sun Gohan and Pan. It's a 24k blocker with activate battle. If your leader is a red Sun Gohan superhero, you choose one of you or your opponent's Pan cards that cost 1, add it to the owner's hand, and play this card from your hand. So it's a 25k battle card for 1. That you get to recycle a card. It essentially draws you a card. You get to add your pan back to your hand, which is very cool. Or if you're playing this in a mirror matchup, you can bounce your opponent's pan back, right? But this is actually a good card. I think you should include it in the deck as being a 24k battle card. That also, it's basically a 1-drop 24k battle card that draws a card. That's essentially what it does. And then we have this card here. It's an extra card, Focused Barrage. Permanent for each of your battle cards with superhero in its character name, reduce the cost of the card in your hand by 1. Now, I think this card is really bad for the sense of you would essentially have to have 4 battle cards on board, right? I don't know if it counts the slash marks. So like this card here, that's why I put them on the screen together. Sun Gohan and Pan both have superhero in their name, so would this reduce it by 2? Let me know down in the comments. Activate main, if your leader is a Sun Gohan superhero, draw 1, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and neg it by 30. That's a very good effect. But unfortunately, it's really difficult to get this effect down. You just don't have a lot of superhero cards you're going to be playing in this deck. You're more likely going to have 1 or 2 on board. And if this card costs 2 in a red deck, 2 is just not great for this. But I wanted to include it because of the effect with the Gohan and Pan, and also just because it was revealed with the archetype. Then we have our Z Leader, Awakening to Beast. So this is a 20k double striker. You can go into it for 2 if you're at 3 life or less, or off of the effect we talked about before. Place 1 card for your Z energy in your drop area. When this card is placed in the leader area, play up to 1 special beam cannon inherited power from your Z deck in your battle area. So you get to play out this guy here. When this card attacks, draw 1, and at the end of your turn, you use all of your Piccolo superhero cards, or switch them to activate. Or to active mode. So you're a 20k double striker now that draws a card, which is solid. Special beam cannon, activate battle. If your red superhero Gohan is attacking, you remove this card from the game. Choose it to one of your opponent's battle cards with 30k 35k power or less, ignoring barrier, and KO it. Then choose one. Either choose one of your Son Gohan Z leaders. It gets 20k power for the battle. Then remove this card from the game at the end of the turn. Or choose one of your red superhero Son Gohan cards with a cost of 30k power or more, and it gets 15k power and double strike. So you can turn your leader into a 40k double strike for 1 energy, or you can make your boss monster, which will go in here in the next slide, a 45k double strike for the battle. That's pretty good. But the best part about this is that you get to play it out for free when you play out the Z leader. That is very, very important. Now, the last screen here is 2 very, very important cards I think you should be playing in this deck. One of them obviously comes with the archetype. The other one was actually a secret rare that was actually already announced. So Son Gohan Beast Roar is a dual attack 30k. For one, this art is fire. This is probably one of the cleanest red SPRs we've had. I think this might be the best looking one we've had in a while. I would say this is better than the Gogeta one, which I really, really liked. Activate main if your leader is a red Saiyan, already generic, which is good. You have 4 more energy. Play this card from your hand. Chooses one of your opponent's battle cards and negative by 30. That is crazy. This is just a good buff for just any red Saiyan deck, right? Auto limit 1 if you have a special beam cannon inherited power in your battle area, and this card is attacking. When your opponent activates a counter skill, choose one of your opponent's leaders, and it gets minus 5k power for the turn. Now, why this is good? This essentially is it's like a 10k combo, right? Like you're anti-beaning your opponent, which is crazy good. That's gonna force another card or 2 out of their hand every single attack, and this is swinging twice. So that's not even mentioning anything else you have on board, right? Now, Bursting Rage is the secret that was shown off for this new set. It is a 0 cost extra card. Activate battle, draw 1. Choose up to one of your leaders with its backside face up. Place up to one of your Z leaders from your Z deck with 20k power or less, in exactly the same color and character name as the chosen card on top of your leader. Then choose up to one of your leaders. It gets 20k power for the battle. Additionally, if your leader is a Z leader, your opponent's battle cards and unisons can't attack for the turn. If they have 25k power or more, then remove your leader from the game at the end of your turn. So there's a lot here, right? So you can either do this on your... So for one, you're going to draw a card. It's a 0 cost draw a card. That's already really good, right? You're then going to go into your Z leader. And then you have to choose your leader, and it gets 20k power for the battle. So it's a 20k 0 cost combo that draws a card, right? Additionally, if your leader is a Z leader, I think this is just the second part of this. And this is kind of for if you do it on your... they could have just said if it's your opponent's turn, I guess. They could have said if it's your opponent's turn and you have a Z leader, whatever. Your opponent's battle cards and unisons can't attack for the turn if they have 20k power or more. So what this does is it sort of floodgates your opponent. It's almost like a Violent Raise mixed with a draw, mixed with a like a iconic attack rare. It's a very crazy card. It's a very, very crazy card. But why we want to play this in this deck is that you have the ability of cycling into this combo very easily for 0 mana, right? Obviously, the goal is for us to go into Beast Gohan. Like, we're going to want to go into the Z leader at some point, right? And once you're already in your Z leader, you can't use your secret rare. So that's kind of where the trick sort of comes in of when you want to use it. However, being able to Bursting Rage into your Z leader will then play your Special Beam Cannon. It kind of seems how they designed it, right? So then your leader goes to a 40k double striker, right? For 0 energy that draws you a card. Okay. Secondly, then you can activate Special Beam Cannon to then give your leader another 20k, making him a 60k double striker for 1 energy. That's pretty powerful. This is a kind of... It's supposed to be kind of Red's version of the Gohan or the Goku secret rare from last set. It's what it seems like. I want to know if this is potentially going to be a new Bandai thing where they're just making the leaders these gigantic boss monsters. It's more likely what it's going to be. So, but that's kind of the combo there. Now, some tips before we go actually into the deck building portion of the video. I don't have a ton of tips for this deck. we're gonna kind of turbo into the Z Awaken as quick as possible on some of the turns, especially if we're able to, you know, hit our opponent for a big double striker, right? And you do want to have a strong mix of Saiyan and superhero cards because there's a ton of them available. So we want to make sure that we're utilizing the best stuff from both worlds, so we're getting a good balance of good generic red stuff as well as some good archetype stuff as well. So now we're going to go into the deck building portion of the video and see what we come up with. Alright, so now we are in the deck building portion of the video, so now we're going to break down kind of what we went through and kind of what a good template for this leader could potentially look like. Obviously, as I always say in these videos, these are templates. Use these to your discretion. If you find better builds, obviously use those. The goal of these is to give you a good solid base, so that way you can tweak ratios and tech cards and things like that. So we actually only run one set of the pans. So the reason is that the pan card itself, although it is cool, it's a good cantrip, we really want it in our deck, and the less amount of them as possible, obviously, you know, that kind of, you know, allows us to possibly have them in our deck, right? But I only included 4. You can include the other cantrip if you want. We did a few games of untap. Seems it's pretty good. We actually don't want to mulligan for this card anyways, so we want to mulligan for some other stuff. So it is kind of there. But this is the one that is going to search top 5 for a superhero card that costs 5 or less, which actually is very important. So we can eventually get this card back later and add it to our hands. So not a huge deal. We do run 4 of the Son Goku at the ready. So this is just like a generic 1-drop cantrip, right? But this also searches out red Saiyans that cost 4 or less, which is very important because a good chunk of our deck is also Saiyans. And there's a lot of cards in the deck that are not superhero cards, so Pan can actually search those out. And this is what we wanted to include instead of the other Pan card. This is probably your best turn 1 play. If you want, you also can search out the Pan if you want. But this will allow you to grab a bunch of other stuff, and then we can Z-charge this and go into our field spell, which then can play out the Pan and do all of our Awaken stuff. 4 of the Piccolo Bestowed Power and 4 of the Power Beyond Awakening. We want to make sure we are able to hit this card every turn. You're probably going to hit it, I think, probably turn 3 is when you're going to end up going into this. So you want to make sure that you hit this combination here. Yep. Now remember, so on here, whenever this card activates blocker, you can take life down the 4 and go into your Z leader if you want to. So you don't actually have to go into the Z leader if you don't want to go into the Z leader. So it is an option, which does allow us to use rage, bursting rage a little bit better. We have 4 of the all out explosion, 4 ultimate power of legends. This is kind of, again, or sorry, 3 power of legend. You could probably swap these if you want to do 3 and 4. I was running into the fact that I was grabbing this card way too many times, and we really only need 1. After that, this card's probably going to get charged for the most part, because it's weird. So like, once you get this guy on board 1 time, it's hard to keep this particular guy on board, but you want to make sure that you're able to have it, right? This card is way better, and playing out this card, like, it's weird. It's a weird combination of stuff. It's probably the weakest part of the deck, but unfortunately you do need to run it so you can get into your Z leader. So yeah, I like the all out explosion card, I think, probably the best, just because it has barrier and deflect. I'm sorry, barrier and blocker, right? Yeah, I was right. Yeah, and barrier and deflect. And this card's actually very difficult to get rid of. So being able to establish this body for 1 and then going into this guy later on and another turn is nice. We have 3 Super Saiyan Son Gohan defeating the demon. Unfortunately, this guy is not a superhero card, so you can't actually do any of that stuff with it. But obviously, just being a good red card, we can search it off with the Goku. And we are going to charge some Z energy, obviously, so being able to utilize this, you know, to go into a lot of our stuff. Now, what's cool is that the Z energy that we charge is not going towards a Z leader or any of our extra cards other than the first one that we play. So you're going to keep your Z energy in there for a while, which is going to make this card live for longer in the game. 4 routed super combos. It's a red Saiyan. We can search it off Goku. It's definitely still your best one. 3 Super Saiyan Broly surging attack. Another very good under 4 or less Saiyan card. It's going to allow us to be just a 1-drop pressure card. It's also going to make our leader draw, essentially turn a leader into a draw 2 every turn. 3 of the blocker 6-drop Gohans. So I really like this card, as I said in the first part of the video. I think this card is very powerful. Being able to swing at something, play this, and then pop the pan back to hand, which can then give you a 5k combo, or you can end up playing the pan out as a searcher, is very cool. I think this card is definitely going to be a very interesting tech piece for this deck. And and doing some like untap stuff and just like doing some mulligans and things, this card definitely seems very good in the middle to the late game. Just being able to generate another body for 1 energy that also essentially draws you a card. I think it's a very powerful card. We have 3 of the new Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 Heroes Mission. We haven't obviously gone over the Dr. Hedo deck or the Cell Max deck. Those are actually going to be coming. But this card is probably my favorite card in the entire set so far. So the middle part does not matter because we don't run any of the Dr. Hedo stuff. The top part doesn't matter, I would say, as much either in this deck because we don't actually run Red Ribbon Army cards except for this card. But the bottom effect is very cool. So if your leader is red and you and your opponent have 3 or more energy, draw 1, play this card from your hand, choose one of your red cards, and it gets 10k power for the battle. So it's a 1-drop, draws you a card. It's essentially like an extra card, like a pseudo combo that draws you a card and then gives something, pumps something 10k, and then also makes this card a 20k for the turn because you can just give this card since it's the Red Ribbon Army. So it's a 20k, draw 1 that makes something else plus 10k. That's really good once per turn. So you can give this to your leader as a way to combo out of stuff and draws you a card, and then you just establish another body. I think this card's great. And it's searchable off pan because this is a superhero card. Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 both have superhero in it. And if you remember, pan searches out 5 or less red battle cards that have superhero in its character name. So, pretty cool. 4 of the Beast Roar, because it's not searchable. We want to make sure we see this card. This is definitely going to be the card you're going to jam on turn 4 and beyond. It's definitely going to be your big boss monster, and you combine this with your secret rare, that's what you're going to want to go for. 2 secret IDs for our overwhelm, since we're not running the Vegito secret rare. Vegito secret rare you can run. There's no problem with that at all. You can run that. As I said before, we are running the Bursting Rage. I think the combination of being able to go into your Z leader and then also turn your Z leader into a 60k double striker for 1 energy is just too good of an ability to pass up. And then you can just go into your Z leader again. Like it's not a huge deal. 1 Omega Shinron. This is a really interesting thing. I keep forgetting about this. Is that if your leader is a red Z leader, you can go into this guy. So once you go into your Z leader, this is a 2-drop triple striker that's going to be able to neg something depending on how many Z energy you have. That's crazy, right? I keep forgetting that this card exists because Red Sin's gone. But you have access to this card too. So it's a good 1 or 2 of. 2 testing the ops for our negates. 3 King Vegeta's Imposing Presence. Again, just more negates. And then we have 1 Unending Awakening. I think this is a card that can be utilized in this deck a lot, especially when you get into your Z leader. Being able to make your Z leader a 25k for the duration of your defensive turn is very good. This might be a card that you might start seeing pop up in side decks for this deck, as well as maybe something like Pan. But I think this card is very underutilized, and we might see a resurgence in this card. It's a very, very old card, came out of a Series 3 booster, but this card is very good, very, very good. And we have the Z deck, so we have 1 of the Battle with the Red Ribbon Army. We have 2 Awakening to Beast Son Gohans, because as I said before, the Bursting Rage effect. You're able to go into Bursting Rage, and then at the end of the turn, that Z leader gets removed from the game, which then allows you to go into your defensive turn, where you should have a Piccolo on board or something, right? And then your Piccolo will die, then it will trigger your Awakened side leader, and then you'll be able to go into your second Gohan. It's very powerful. 1 Videl. Videl's cool because we do run Red Earthling, so if you have one of your Z Energy, this card can KO at 15k, and then also becomes a 15k. So I think it's pretty interesting. We have 2 Special Beam Cannons. Again, what's cool is that when you play out the Sun Gohan, you play one, you put one Z Energy in the drop, and you get to play out the Special Beam Cannon from your Z deck. So it's not a once per game or anything, so you can just go right into it, and that's really good being able to get that card out of the deck. And then we have 1 Rush Attack Vegeta. You can use this or Defender of Life. It doesn't really matter. Just pick one of them. You're probably never going to go into it anyways, but it's just there just in case. So that is the Sun Gohan deck. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if you guys find any cool tech that you guys want to share about this deck. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Overall, I think this deck is... Do I think it's... I don't know. It seems okay on paper. It has a lot of good staple cards. I think the best part about it is I think I have a little bit of a different opinion about it after Bursting Rage was revealed. Beforehand, I thought it was kind of okay, but with this ability of being able to go into your Z leader, make him a 60k double striker, followed by the next turn being able to go into your Gohan again, and then establish another Special Beam Cannon, I think it's really powerful. This might be a very, very meta-relevant deck for next set. We'll have to see once we get there, of course. So, as always, thank you guys for supporting the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, again, hit the like button, smash the notification button, subscribe. Any order of that stuff, you guys can do that stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.